Okay, guys, welcome. It's 1 o'clock, so we'll get the show on the road. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's one of our another one of our webinars where we introduce a number of companies to you all, so that you can be investing again. And here we have today is Mike O'Flynn from HorsePay. We've got Patrick McDermott from DigiTally, and we've got Thomas O'Connell from Moby. I'll introduce them all one by one in a second, but we're delighted to welcome so many attendees today. We've had such a positive response. We just sent out the 2 emails. We normally send out a few more, but because we were oversubscribed even at that stage, it's great that we have that many, and really that's a testament to the caliber of the companies that we've got on the webinar pitching today. All three companies are EIS self-assessed and approved, and so that means, of course, if you're an investor and you invest into these companies, you will get a 40% rebate on your tax. So if you put €1,000 in, you'll get €400 back, which is a great incentive for you to invest. 2 of them are Enterprise Island clients. One of them is a local Enterprise Island client, and so they'll introduce and tell you all about that a little bit later on. We've got a Dublin company, which is Moby with Thomas. We have a Limerick company, which is Mike from with HorsePay, and we've got a Galway company, which is of course Patrick with DigiTally. And so, of course, Spark is open to all areas of the country. And we're delighted to have a good spread across the country for that. For our last webinar, all 3 companies exceeded their targets, and we're delighted to welcome so many of the investors who invested in them back with us today. And thank you very much for joining us again. We don't have a campaign live at the moment, but that's soon to change. The 3 that we've got live today will be live the 3 that we've got pitching today will be live on our website over the next week or so. So we're very looking forward to getting them up onto the platform. And we're very selective with the number of companies that we actually have. So and again, that really is down to the testament of the companies that we have on live today. So without further ado, I will get perhaps Mike to switch his camera off and Patrick to switch his off. And Thomas, you can unmute yourself if you would, please. So thank you very much, Thomas, for being with us today. You've got your deck hiding behind you there somewhere. So if you'd like to get that started and share your screen, we'll get going. So over to you.
Well, let me know, is that working?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks very much, Thomas. Away you go.
Just a second. So yeah, my name is Thomas O'Connell. I am the CEO and founder of Moby. We're a electric bike sharing company. Yeah, this happens. Sometimes it doesn't skip. I just need to do it again. Sorry.
You okay, Thomas?
Yeah, it just doesn't skip sometimes when it goes live. Yeah, there we go. So
share your screen there, Thomas, if you can.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So the problem that we are trying to solve is, sorry, I'm just going to make this bigger.
Let's go to presentation mode.
Yeah. So basically congestion in our cities. So Dublin, in fact, is the 14th most congested city in the world, actually, and probably it's number 2 or 3 in Europe. And this costs our economy about 1.8 million a year in lost productivity, and we get fined for things like missing our carbon emission targets as well. The solution, we believe, is to introduce a stationless electric bike sharing scheme. We believe that a fleet of about 1,000 electric bikes could replace 10,000 car trips a day, or 3.6 million car journeys per year. The reason for that is actually kind of another interesting fact is that 70% of car journeys are actually less than 8 kilometers. So a lot of car journeys are just under 8 kilometers. So that's the perfect distance to travel by electric bike, and that because it requires less effort and much easier to cycle. So our company Moby, we won a license to operate a dockless electric bike sharing scheme in Dublin last year, and we've been piloting since April or May. And the license allows us to put 1,000 bikes on the streets of Dublin. And we're also piloting at the moment in Dunleary, Rathdown, and in Fingal. So just to clarify something, there's 2 operators who won a license, and that's ourselves and Bleeper Bike. Bleeper Bike have been operating for about 2 years, and we won the second license. Bleeper Bike do have the opportunity to introduce electric bikes into their scheme, but they don't have any immediate plans because they have already got a lot of pedal bikes on the streets. So our opportunity is to kind of come in first with electric bikes. So how it works is you basically download the app and register. You enter your credit card details, and that then enables you to be able to look on the app. You can go to the map and it'll show you where the bikes are available, or if you see a bike on the street, you can just walk up to it, and then you scan it with the QR code. That will unlock the bike, and then you're ready to go. So you can take the bike to another area, anywhere you want around Dublin. We have a geofence. You can't go to Meath or to Galway on it, but we've got quite a large geofence. And then what you do is when you end your journey, you end it at a bike stand somewhere else in the city, and then basically press lock my bike, and that will lock the bike, end the journey, and charge you for the amount of time you've had the bike. So the size of the market, McKinsey did a study that basically projects that we're in a space called micromobility, and they project that the European market will be worth somewhere between 100 and 150 billion by 2030. So so we came at the Dublin market size using kind of 3 approaches. So we sliced the McKinsey study down to the Dublin market, and that kind of showed that we would have a market of about 140 to 210 million here. Also, just looking at NTA reports, they show the amount of journeys inside the canals every year, and if we kind of said that 15% of those in the future will go towards micromobility, then we have a market of about 100 million annually, assuming €3 per journey. And then Dublin Bikes, if you look at their business, so traditionally when you launch an electric bike sharing scheme on top of where there's been a traditional one already, the trips, the amount of journeys per day typically are 3x. So Dublin Bikes gets 4 million journeys a year inside the canals. So we said, okay, if we got 3x that would be 12 million journeys. At €3 a journey is 36 million. And that's just inside the canals. So you can probably 2x that or 3x that again to arrive at about 100 million for the entire Dublin market, because we would be able to expand into suburbs where Dublin Bikes aren't. So since that, that was kind of an opportunity that we would have had in a non kind of coronavirus world. But since that has happened, obviously coronavirus has happened, and that's actually increased the need for micromobility and shared micromobility. So our space has been booming basically across the world as people are trying to avoid using public transport, and the entire category is pretty much on fire at the moment. The companies who are just in straightforward sales of electric bikes are seeing 3x to 4x their sales versus this time last year. VC money is piling into all these companies as well. So the other good news that's happened since April is obviously that the government, the Green Party are now in government, and Eamon Ryan is the Minister for Transport. They negotiated a programme for government that would see 360 million spent per year on cycling and walking infrastructure. And just to put that into perspective, 7 million was what was spent in the whole country in 2018. So it's a massive increase. And basically the one, that their goal is to obviously turn the cities of Ireland into mini versions of Amsterdam and Copenhagen. And with that budget, we hope they'll get there. And the key thing to kind of cycling in cities is traditionally when you invest in the infrastructure, cycling increases. There's been case studies where cycling has gone 10x after they invested properly in infrastructure. In terms of competition, there's a typical layout of kind of any city. Dublin's not dissimilar. So we've got your traditional scheme that's kind of the city scheme or city operated. So currently that's our Dublin Bikes or JC2Co bikes. They've got a limited operating area. As I said earlier, they're only within the canals. You've got availability issues at peak times. So they have a big problem at Houston Station trying to keep up with the amount of people who want to rent them. And of course, they're just push pedal bikes at the moment. So then we have Bleeper Bike, who launched 2 years ago. They're doing very, very well today. They've got stationless or dockless pedal bikes, and they mainly are, our differentiator then between those guys between Dublin bikes is that we're stationless and we are electric, and our differentiator between ourselves and Believer Bike at the moment is that we're electric. We're both stationless, but we are electric bikes. So in terms of traction, so we originally planned to do a proper launch on the 1st of April in Dublin, but that got delayed because of coronavirus. So we instead then actually did a campaign where we gave out our fleet went out to healthcare workers, because the logic was that they were the ones that should be avoiding public transport at that time. So we did a campaign, and we got a lot of our bikes out to healthcare workers. There were some bikes left over, and we in May then just said, okay, let's put them on the street and kind of see what happens. We didn't do any marketing or anything like that, and we haven't done any marketing to date. And we've kind of, as bikes have been coming back from healthcare workers, then we've been building up our fleet on the street. And so as of kind of end of July, we had about 80 bikes operating, and then we expanded into Dunleary and Rathdown. So what's really interesting, I suppose, is that we're way ahead of our projections and where we hope to be in a non-coronavirus world. So we were actually hoping to get five euros a day in a normal world, and today we're generating anywhere between €7 and €10, and that depends on kind of things like, you know, the operating area. As we expand the area, because the fleet is small, the revenue goes down. But if we then compress the area, it goes up when we have more density of bikes. We haven't done any marketing, but anytime we get a little bit of a journalist writes about us or anything like that, we get a lot of inbound inquiries. So a lot of councillors, city councillors, you know, coming at us from Limerick, Galway, Cork, even Milton Keynes, Waterford, etc., all looking to see, can we kind of come to their city and launch an electric bike sharing scheme there, or operate it. Also a lot of property developers. So property developers have an incentive to put a bike share scheme to say to their residents, hey, we've got kind of a dedicated scheme for you guys, because, you know, and it's, you know, our property is connected with public transport. So how that would work is we would put kind of a private scheme into the development, and then we would invoice the management company, and then in turn they would give it free for the residents. So I believe it's going to become mandatory at the moment. Dublin City Council have kind of been saying that they're going to make it mandatory for new properties being developed in the city, that they're going to have a bike share scheme. So it's not something that anybody's objecting to, that the property developers want it and the city wants it as well. Then we got a lot of inquiries as well from large corporates, so wanting to do dedicated schemes for their staff, so much the same as a property scheme. But so if you work in Dropbox down in the basement, you might have 10 or 20 bikes that are dedicated to the staff, and only the staff that work there. Public who want a dedicated bike for themselves, so they can avoid public transport at the moment, and we've come up with a solution for that as well. So in terms of the team, advisors, myself, I previously ran a kind of, I call it consumer goods / hardware company. It was in the same kind of space. We were in wheeled goods. The company is called Yvolution. It was responsible for the Flicker scooter, which was a hugely successful toy in Ireland. And we actually then took that product international and sold it all around the world into big retailers like Toys R Us, Walmart, Target, etc. We had, I think, 9 offices around the world. The company grew to 60 million after only 3 years, which was probably the quickest growth of any hardware consumer goods startup, from startup to 60 million. Not a lot of people achieved that in 3 years. And we were Supplier of the Year to Toys R Us USA 3 years in a row. Japan also, we won that as well, Vendor of the Year 2 years in a row. And I was nominated for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year at the time in 2017, but I was in the middle of my exit at the time, so I didn't go forward with the nomination or the competition. Wojciech, basically he comes from the company that our supplier. So we buy our bikes from a company in the Czech Republic called Free Bike. They supply us with bikes and software, and Wojciech kind of helped launch 6 of their cities so far. So he was involved here training up the team at the start, and now we've got our own team kind of in-house running operations at the moment.
Just 1 minute, Thomas. Sorry, just 1 minute.
Oh, Fiacre Kerwin, he's our CFO. He was CFO of PCH and Air Aran, and then Barry has his own business before, and he ran a large team in Havas digital marketing agency running campaigns for a lot of the car brands. Brian Caulfield is one of our investors, private investor. He's also an advisor, so he has kind of some sweat equity on the advisor side, but he's also investing in this round. He's a well-known private investor and ex kind of managing partner of Draper's Free Venture Capital. Jamie Heaslip is investing in the business and also has a brand ambassador role as well in return for kind of sweat equity. The numbers, please don't stop me, Chris. The numbers are very important. So as the fleet kind of scales from 120 up to 1,500 bikes, basically the average journeys per day and then multiplied by average revenue per journey. And what's important is if you look at the 392 or the 948 in the first 2 years, we're already ahead of that. And so the business becomes quite formulaic in that as you scale the operation. So as the amount of bikes scales, the amount of staff scales as well. So it becomes very formulaic in that, you know, more bikes equals more revenue, and that drives the EBITDA number on the bottom line. So we're seeking to raise up to 2 million in total funding. We've got 600,000. I've invested about 200,000 at the moment myself, and we've put personal guarantees for asset finance of about 400,000. And then we are looking to raise kind of anywhere between 250 and 1.4 million in equity. We've got 270 secured, and the reason for the big range is because basically at the lower level we have a smaller fleet and we scale slower, but at the higher level we get a bigger fleet quicker and get into profitability quicker and can scale quicker. So that's why there's such a big range. Qualify for EIS, and then the valuation is based on industry precedents. So a lot of companies in this space would have raised at a slightly higher valuation without a license. So we actually have a license from Dublin City Council already. So there's lots of other reasons around the valuation and why it's there, but probably the precedence is the best one. And then in terms of exits, the space is quite acquisitive. You've got either operators themselves looking to acquire other companies in the space, car rental companies investing or acquiring the space, and like the likes of mobility companies like Uber and Lyft. Lyft recently announced that they believed their future was not going to be in ride hailing and more in micro mobility, and they've been acquiring a lot of operators in the space as well. That's it.
Very good. Okay, Thomas, listen, thanks very much indeed. That's perfect. If you could unshare your screen, that's perfect. And Fergal, if you'd like to come on side as well. Fergal's been collating some of the questions that we've had in. So some of those have been emailed in to us already. And of course, if anybody's got a question to add as we are live, then please do so through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So Fergal, do you have a couple of questions there, please?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Hi, Thomas. Actually, I've tested out the bikes, very impressed with the technology. And also just to start off, just with regards to COVID-19 and the kind of prolonged lockdown, what do you feel is that, how is that going to affect the business going forward? And I know, you know, maybe talk a little bit about the bikes that you also gave to frontline workers as well back in March. Just an update on how that worked.
Thomas, you there?
We basically funded it using GoFundMe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, we can now.
Yeah. We funded it using GoFundMe. So our logic was, you know, we can hang around here, leave the bikes in the warehouse and do nothing, or we kind of needed and wait until the whole thing passes, or we can kind of do something. So at the time we didn't know what that was going to look like. So we said, look, we could pay our, you know, the operations costs. So we launched a GoFundMe campaign, and the public basically donated towards our operating costs. So things like insurance and the cost of mechanics and things like that at that time. And then those bikes went out to the health workers. And then, you know, the idea was that would fund it for kind of 3 months. And then as the bikes started coming back, we put them on the streets. It went down quite well. They were very, very grateful. It was very kind of scary and interesting time, I suppose, at that time. And yeah, it was kind of a good thing to do. And we got I think some good PR out of it as well. Yeah. In terms of lockdown, the weird thing is that actually, I don't like saying it, but in lockdown, actually the business goes up for people. Like the Bleeper bikes' best time was actually kind of during the lockdown, because people were basically bored, I think, and they had nothing to do. So the only thing to actually do was get out and about and get on a bike and get a bit of exercise. So so actually lockdowns, and we've seen it just last week, actually increased the business a little bit. Obviously, you know, when tourists come back, You know, so what we're missing at the moment is the normal commuting population and the tourists. So, and so the flip side is that we're actually ahead of our projections without that at the moment. So I would view it kind of as a positive. So obviously if we're ahead of where we are today in a situation where there's only 15% of the commuting population actually commuting around the city, once that returns, then things, you know, our revenue should go up much more. And once tourist returns, our revenue should go up much more as well.
Excellent, very good. And just with regards to theft, have you had any experience with bikes being stolen, or what has been kind of the reaction so far, Thomas?
Yeah, way back actually, in November when we got our first bikes, I had 3 bikes on the street and one of them got stolen. And I think it was because of the lock at the time, but I've had 1 bike stolen. So with theft, I was probably overly paranoid about it, and we went around and talked to all the sergeants of the in the Gardaí here. But actually we just had 1 bike stolen, and what happens is basically there's no point in stealing the bike. All the parts are custom, you can't resell them, and the bike doesn't work unless you actually pay for it. So the thieves pretty much know that, or can work it out already. You can't.
And is there insurance involved in that if you have even just, you know, just damage or?
Yeah, no, we have insurance against theft and vandalism as well. So with vandalism, we've had maybe 3 incidences, but we were able to reclaim it on insurance as well. So we've had to replace a broken IoT system and a frame on 1 bike. So what happens with vandalism is it typically happens in a certain area. And so if it does happen, you just kind of don't allow the bikes to be parked in that area in the future. So we have insurance against it.
And what's the life, you know, the lifetime of a bike, or when does it need to be replaced, or the battery, and kind of, can you discuss that maybe? And
yeah, so in our, I think it's in cost of sales, there's a line for spare parts. So a bicycle really should never go to landfill in theory. You know, you're going to always just be replacing parts on it all the time. But what we've done in our projections is we've said that the bike probably has we believe it has an 8-year lifetime, but we've actually just depreciated it over 3 years, to be very kind of conservative on it. And then there's a line in the cost of sales called spare parts. So you're going to have, we budgeted kind of 10% of the cost of the bike that every year we're going to be spending on spare parts, and that would include, you know, batteries as they come up in 2 or 3 years time as well. So the charging cycle of the batteries will be quite long. So there might be like 1,000 cycles in it. So you shouldn't have to replace a battery for another 2 or 3 years. But again, we budgeted for it in the cost of spare parts.
Excellent. And just, we have time maybe just for 1 more question. Now there's loads of questions coming through. So what we'll do is we will collect them all, and we will give them to you, Thomas, and we can email them over to the investors once we're done. Just in relation to the charging of the bikes and how they're charged and how that whole cycle works, I suppose, in terms of recharging them, and how is that done?
Sure. So we have a service app. So there's an app that the general public see, and they can tell where the bikes are, and they can actually tell the amount of range left on the bike. But we also have a separate app, which is what we call our service app. So our service team can see and get a report on which batteries are low in the city. So we can say, you know, on a Friday, our task is to get all batteries that are below 50% to replace them for the weekend, because it might be it's 2 days when we're not replacing batteries. But basically we have a team, we can see where the batteries are low, and we have a team out on the street who are replacing batteries on the bikes every day. And that gives another advantage in that we can actually touch the bikes every day. We can see which ones maybe have an issue, or it might have a flat tire that we need to pump as well. So it helps us with kind of maintenance and keeping the fleet in good condition as well.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Fergal, thanks very much for that. We'll leave it there for the moment, guys. As Fergal said, there's plenty of questions that have come in there. 1 quick one before you go, though, Thomas. 1 question here: is Enterprise in Ireland an investor?
It's pending. So it's just pending at the moment. Waiting for an answer. Exactly.
So you're an HPSU client, and the normal scenario is that once you've got the once you've got the investment, you hopefully get matched investment from EI.
Yep.
Excellent. Yep. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Thomas. That's excellent. And we'll get those questions over to you, and you can answer those, and we'll send them back to all the attendees as well. But thanks very much for the moment.
Great.
Okay. Mike, if you'd like to open up your camera, please, if you can, and Thomas, if you can mute and switch your camera off, that'd be brilliant. So this is Mike O'Flynn from HorsePay. Mike has created an app to help horse trading happen. But I'll let him explain the whole concept, and I'll slide off into the background. So Mike, over to you.
Yeah, just 2 seconds then, I'll just share the screen.
Please, if you would. Go into presentation mode. Perfect. Okay, away you go.
Okay, so my name is Mike O'Flynn, and I am CEO and one of the co-founders of HorsePay, the world's first online equine trading payments protection system. So today I want to tell you about our journey to date, the vast untapped market and undigitized industry that we will disrupt, why HorsePay is the best solution and an exciting investment opportunity for you. So HorsePay is like Stripe for equine trading, a payment solution that protects both buyers and sellers when purchasing. The equine industry is a global market worth 278 billion annually, and it is operating without payments protection. So now a story about the problem. So the very first horse I bought was supposed to be an investment. I bought the horse to be an eventer, a horse that I could train and sell on for a lot of money. Well, to me at least. But he had an issue that I wasn't told about. So he turned out to be a box walker. Now, basically, a box walker is when the horse just keeps walking around and around in the stable, and there was no hope that I was going to be able to sell this horse on for a profit. So it was a cash sale. There was no means for returns. I was on my own. Now, I was 16 and I had spent every cent of my savings on this horse. And this was when it really hit home that there was just a massive problem in the industry. So there are multiple problems here that just create the perfect storm for HorsePay to completely disrupt the industry. The payments market for equine trading is totally unregulated. Both the buyer and the seller are looking for payments protection. The industry is totally undigitized, and for decades there has been no advancements in a payment solution. I'll just see if I can move that out of the way, lads. Apologies. So now, the solution. HorsePay is the world's first online equine trading platform that gives you a warranty of up to 7 days. We provide the warranty by holding the money in escrow until all parties are satisfied. Now, why does this solution work? So we create online payment protection and an escrow service. We are creating trust and security for both buyers and sellers who don't know each other. And we are creating buyer confidence and enabling sellers to achieve higher prices. So what we have created in order to protect both buyers and sellers is generational technology that will finally start to digitize an industry with a hugely untapped potential. Now, that being said, we have kept things incredibly simple. So you access our payment platform through our landing page. You either register or log in, and then you select whether you are buying or selling. So for now, let's go with selling. You enter the selling details, you send them to the buyer, and they get a confirmation message. The buyer then receives the offer through email. They check that the details are correct. If they are, they make a payment, and they get a confirmation message. So what happens is the buyer lodges funds onto HorsePay's platform, and the funds are released to the seller at the end of the warranty period once there has been no claim. If there is a claim, the buyer simply lets us know, we freeze the money, a vet investigates the issue, and if the buyer's issue is genuine, they get their money back. HorsePay is so simple to use, it's intuitive, reliable, developed using design thinking, and it is extensively Now, Equine Business Association founder Christina Jones describes the equine as the greatest market hidden in plain sight. Globally, the market is worth 278 billion per annum, but for equine trading, the part of the market that we are focused on is Ireland, the UK, and the US. Now, we know the Irish market is worth 60 million and has 14,000 transactions. We know that the UK market is worth 960 million and has 224,000 transactions. And we know that the US market is worth 5.8 billion and has 1.35 million transactions. The average transaction value is €4,285, and 74% of these buy and sell transactions are done privately. So we take 5.9% commission on each transaction. That is 2.95% of each side. The average transaction value is €4,285. HorsePay's gross fee is €252 per transaction, and there's a net margin of €160 per transaction. So for every 1,000 transactions we achieve, we expect to make €160,000 is a function of how many thousands of transactions we achieve. Now, we have the hard work done. The user testing, the multiple iterations, the payment system is live. Now what we need to do is scale HorsePay rapidly. We will do this by expanding into the UK first, then the US, then the South American markets. So the horse community is very close-knit. It is actually almost cult-like, and we all live in Facebook groups. Now, I'm a member in a number of these groups, and they have a massive reach. So we are currently negotiating with the admins on how to get their members using our platform. And we believe this is our quickest route to market and is the best way for us to help source our 1,000 transactions. We have the competitive advantage. We are the first to market. Our product is incredibly easy to use. You have guaranteed protection. We have profiled users for transparency. We have a modern design and brand, and we have an incredibly fair fee. So let's just take Goresbridge Horse Sales, for example. You have a €90 entry fee. You have approximately €150 vet fee. You could take €100 for fuel, and you take the whole day off. And everybody knows time is money. And that is even before you sell. When you do sell, there is a 9.5% commission on the sale. HorsePay, in comparison, charges 5.9% commission, and that is it in total. I would have to say that we have all the benefits and more for a fraction of the cost and from any location. And now for the secret sauce. We are not reinventing the wheel here. This process already exists for organised events such as Goffs, Goresbridge, Tattersalls, etc. But all these places have massive overheads. They have stabling for hundreds of horses, staff, maintenance, catalogues. We're simply moving this process online. People are just going to say about HorsePay that we were just in the right place at the right time. Now, we have raised 51,000 to date, and that was supported by the local enterprise office and private funds. This helped us to build our payment protection system and develop a listing site for equine stock. In October, we are running a crowdfunding campaign. The aim is to raise €100,000 in exchange for 16.67% equity. This will fund us to get to our 1,000 transactions identified in the business model and expansion into the UK and other markets. The 100,000 raised will be match funded by the local enterprise office under their business expansion grant scheme, and we will then be upgraded to Enterprise Ireland's HBSU status. We have our team in place. We have our business plan in place. Version 1 systems are running. We have our development plan. Our trade partners are in place. We are on the runway and we are ready to take off. We are investor ready. Our funding requirements are as follows. Pre-seed round €100,000, seed round first year development €250,000, 12 to 18 months 1 million, 24 to 36 months 5 million. Our investor exit is likely to be via trade sale in 3 to 5 years, probably to Stripe, who are expected to embark on Amazon-type acquisitions of bolt-ons. So just to sum up, we have first mover advantage. We have a simple, safe, and secure solution enabling a traditional industry to move payments online. We have a vast, undigitized market worth $278 billion yearly. We are building trust and confidence between buyers and sellers online. Somebody else is going to figure out that this can be done. It is only a matter of time. Mark my words. And on that note, I would like to add in a quote from Emma Watson. If not me, who? And if not now, when? So the question is, will you back us in this one-horse race to disrupt the equine industry forever? Thank you for listening. Myself, Ian Gilmore, and Shane McCarthy welcome any questions that you may have.
Well done, Mike. Thank you very much indeed. That's excellent. So if you can stop sharing your screen so you can come on a camera fully. And I know Fergal has got a couple of questions there. But before you start, Fergal, what I just wanted to mention as well, that each of the companies presenting today will actually have their own webinar when they're live on the site. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to actually ask questions and grill the CEO or the founders at another stage as well. But anyway, Fergal, have you got a question or two, please? There.
Yeah, loads of good questions in here. Let's see. I'll just go to the first one here. Niall, who pays the vet fees, Mike? If there is if there is a dispute, who pays the vet fees?
Oh, the buyer will pay the vet fee usually.
Okay, excellent.
It can change if they really wish to, but usually the buyer.
Excellent. And what protection is available if the issue can't be resolved in 7 days?
So we have a backup plan. There is a crowd in the Curragh that offer they offer these services all the time. You're saying if they're not happy with the vet?
Yeah, if it takes longer, you know, if it can't be resolved in the 7 days and needs to be extended.
Sorry, it definitely can be. That's loads of time. So we offer a 10-day window once you make the claim to get a vet to verify the voice, and that is more than enough time to start it out.
Okay, excellent.
Sorry, but one thing I didn't do is I didn't introduce Ian. Ian Gilmore is a mentor who works with Mike, and so Ian is there, and also Shane is there as well. Shane works with the guys, so they're the three of them. Sorry, Fergal.
No, you're fine. Is the platform protected, guys, by license or patent, or is there a plan to kind of bring that license model on board?
So we have all the IP for the code and the logos, the branding, everything that is possible. We own 100% of that.
Excellent. And just can you explain more? Yeah.
Sorry, what's the issue about licensing? As in, can it be licensed into separate territories?
Yes, it was a question around the license and franchising model, and if the actual system itself is protected as well and licensed by a patent.
Well, our plan is to move the brand globally. It's as simple as that. It'll be within our control. We have no immediate plans to license it out to other parties. But look, if we get an approach, like that's business, you know.
Very good. A question here from an interesting one. What happens if the horse gets injured during the warranty? I.e., like throws off the riders, you know, gets injured while that 7-day warranty is ongoing.
So that was a massive question that kept coming up during research at the start, and it's in black and white. What we can cover are the voices. We can't simply cover a horse if it bucks you off, just because it could be rider error, it could be something completely unpredictable that will make the horse do such things. So we can't cover that. So what we do cover is 6 issues that will be box walking, wind sucking, weaving, unsoundness of limb, unsoundness of wind, and sweetage. So that might sound like gibberish to an awful lot of investors, but for people who are interested in the horses, they would know what they mean. I can run through a couple of them if you want to get an idea.
Perhaps that'll be for the next. Perhaps that'll be for the next one, Mike. But we'll carry on. I think people understand that these are the known vices, and these will be listed on the site.
Yeah.
Excellent. And guys, just a question around the security of the system. The security, how secure is it? Is there any data protection issues? You know, what challenges do you see there in terms of making sure that the transaction is frictionless, you know, from the buyer and seller, and that it is, you know, fully protected for data protection purposes?
Yeah, completely protected. We're using Stripe, and they have everything fully covered, so we don't need to worry about any of that.
Very good. And that was just another question for someone else. Why wouldn't Stripe just develop a similar offering, or what's stopping them from, I suppose, from replicating what you guys are doing?
Well, if Stripe are interested in the space, they can buy us out in due course, which I think is what's going to happen.
Excellent. Very good. And just one let's see, one last question. Very interesting one here as well. Actually, this came up from an investor previously when I spoke to them offline. Why why doesn't equine sellers use existing platforms like eBay, PayPal, etc.? You know, and I know an investor had experience before with PayPal and issues around that. But can you see any other kind of, you know, competition there from some of those existing, you know, other than Stripe payment providers?
I'd like to answer that if possible, Jinx. I firmly believe that the horse industry, as Mike said, it's cult-like. That means they need a personalised approach. Going on to eBay, done deal, something like Amazon, they're not representative of what the community wants, what the community needs. Mike's point on decades or lack of involvement over decades is key to this. What we've done is created a personalised experience, a personalised platform where the horse community comes together to transact. That's what the industry needs. Uber was needed like that for the car industry. Even Thomas's pitch earlier, he's trying to do that for the bike industry, and we're doing the same for the horse industry. And aligning to Ian's point to finish up, that's exactly the way it'll transition, that you'll see someone like, Stripe, who doesn't understand this industry, who wants to get into it, and they will go down through an acquisition model.
Excellent. Very good. Chris, I don't know, do you have any other questions there?
No, I think we'll leave it. Yeah, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much, guys, and thanks very much, Fergal, for answering those. There are some other questions that have come in, but we'll get you to answer those offline, and we'll send them out to all the attendees as they come through. So, guys, thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to switch your cameras off now, and I'll get Patrick to come in. So, Patrick, are you there?
Thanks, Chris.
Sure am.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you, and you've got your slide deck coming through. So, so this is Patrick McDermott from DigiTally, and Patrick, away you go.
Great stuff. Thanks for the opportunity. This afternoon, I'll run you through the product, the traction, the market, the business model, and where it is that we're going with DigiTally. First of all, to tell you about the product, DigiTally is a software platform that allows multi-site food businesses to count, collate, and report on their food margins. And by combining an app with an online reporting dashboard, it allows businesses to generate their gross margins 70% faster. Their gross margin is their #1 metric for a food business. What it means for business owners is that they're analyzing the results a lot faster and spending less time on collating the information. People or these businesses are buying ingredients and they're selling recipes. So it's not as if they're buying a chicken curry and buying chicken. They're buying the chicken, they're buying the curry sauce, they're buying all of the ingredients and then combining it. And what happens is, if they're not controlling things correctly, they'll end up with a loss of margin because it does tend to fluctuate. And these margins are affected by wastage, poor portion control, and overproduction. Now, for a single site, this is inefficient, but for a multi-site with multiple outlets, this is a severe, major operational issue. Now, the current system, what people use, is very manual, very error-prone, and some of you might find it hard that people are still doing this. But you see, the problem is that these products that they're counting don't have barcodes. And when it doesn't have barcodes, it means it can't scan. So the only way that people are recording them currently is by using a pen and paper, then putting it into an Excel sheet. So for multi-site operations, that's then being sent off to head office where they crunch the numbers. And so it ends up in a week down the road, and they're no quicker in getting the information together. With DigiTally, what we do is we streamline a lot of that process to give real-time data. It also reduces an awful lot of the errors that happens with the manual data collection process. There's two key metrics that I want to share with you. One is based around the gross profit margin that we've proved to date that with our customers that they're all improving their gross profit margin between 1 to 4.1%. And the second one is that there's a clear return on investment of between 2.2 to 3.8 months. That means that DigiTally is not a nice to have product. This is a vital tool for managing profitability. We have 29 customers with 97 sites in Ireland and the UK, and it incorporates some well-known names including Spar, Londis, Abracababra, and we've also secured 2 of the top 3 contract catering sites in the UK, or catering businesses in the UK, who have a combined 70,000 sites globally. And we also have 30 sites which are due to close with us in the month of October. The market for DigiTally is substantial, with a worldwide value of 9.6 billion. That's a combination of food and non-food businesses who would have the requirement for using the software. What we're focusing on is UK and US businesses only, which is a value of just over 1 billion. And what we believe is very achievable is that by 2023, we'll have a 9 million in turnover. To break that down into customers and the amount of sites, it'd be the equivalent of 50 customers with 100 sites each. Those sectors that we'll be looking at in the food businesses will be contract catering, hospitality businesses, and deli businesses also. Our business model, like our software, is very simple, very clean, and easy to understand. A 3-tiered pricing model, which ranges with essential, premium, and enterprise, all at different pricing levels depending on the business or if they're part of a group structure. Our sales will be direct, and we'll be focusing on the enterprise and premium sales only. The online will be looking after the essential, and so will online conversion be targeting those. With our marketing, there's 2 methods that we'll be using. Online by a combination of SEO and video testimonial, and then second is offline with trade show and direct mail. When I say direct mail, yes, it is very effective for what we're selling to and the people that we're selling to. We have a reducing customer acquisition cost, which by 2023 will be reduced to 23.74%. To tell you about our team, we're 5 strong now. Myself, 16 years ago, I started a business called stocktaking.ie, which currently conducts over 1,600 stock takes per year. Arthur, my CTO, we've been working together for the past 8 years, and Arthur has extensive experience in developing stock taking software. We've recently taken on board 2 high-performing team members to complement the team of 5 that was in August of last year. With the investment that we're looking at is for 400,000, split between 200,000 through the Spark crowdfunding, 200,000 through Enterprise Ireland, where we're of HBSU status. We are EIS certified, and the spend, we're looking at a combination of sales and marketing, R&D, and then the UK. A lot of it is based around people to push that forward, and we've included a 10% buffer in that. What that will get us is to a monthly recurring revenue of 528,000 by the end of 2023. The competition for DigiTally comes in 3 main guises. There's external stock taking companies, there is stock taking apps, and then there are other software providers. The one that I'll focus on mainly is the software providers, where a lot of the businesses that we're dealing with already have a system already in place, as in that does elements of stock control, does elements of recipes, allergens, temperature control, but not focus specifically on the specific pain point that these businesses have, which is the accurate, transparent, and verifiable collection of data. And this is what DigiTally specify in. When it comes to these other systems, they cover so much that don't tend to be intuitive. They tend to be cumbersome and complex and require a lot of training. And that's not ideal when you have a staff that are of transient nature in working in these businesses. Then you also have the manual method as a competitor, which is pen and paper. We've identified 2 key potential partners that we believe that DigiTally will be acquired by the end of 2024. In 2019 alone, for undisclosed sums, both of these businesses have acquired 3 other companies. It is a sector that is buoyant with M&A activity, and we feel that this would be an ideal fit for one of these companies. The future of DigiTally when it comes to the IT, what we'll be adding in the future, we have an alerting system which will analyze the results for the different companies. We have the improved projections and analytics functionality, which will allow people to project the results in future based on current results that they're receiving. The gamification of the software to make it more engaging for the users at a ground level. And then also the API integrations is going to be a key part for us integrating with these third-party systems to connect up with the data that already exists there. To give you a snapshot of where the company is at currently, we're on track in 2020 sales to have a 300% increase in our revenues. We have a strong sales pipeline with 31 sites, which is just completed with demo stage, and we're currently at negotiation. In Q3, our MRR, monthly recurring revenue, is 15,000 per month. We've migrated to Microsoft Azure, which is the most secure platform for online business like ourselves. By November of this year, we'll be ISO, which is the International Standards Organization. We'll have secured 27,001, but that is based around data security. And then we're also negotiating at the moment a 90-site rollout, which is due to take place in Q1 next year, 2021, with a value of 220,000. To summarize where the business is, we developed the software, we validated the market, and we're ready to scale. The market demand with 29 customers with 97 sites and people willing to put their name and face in a testimonial video tells us that we are making great progress and providing them with a tool that is essential. We've secured 2 large multinational contract catering firms as paying customers, and combined they have over 70,000 sites globally. We have the market experience, the knowledge and connectivity, and a fantastic team to make this happen. And our revenues by 2023 will be 9 million. Thanks for listening. I look forward to answering any questions that you have around DigiTally.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Patrick. Excellent. And we do have some questions that have popped into the box here. And Virgil, hopefully you can kind of distill those and give them to Patrick if you can.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Just a few questions here. Just in terms of the accuracy of the system in measuring waste and food waste. Obviously, it's a big topic. How accurate do you see DigiTally, saving waste and food waste?
What we've done with the system, that with the app, that it's not just used for counting, that it's also used for recording waste, that people can enter in what's been wasted and why it's been wasted. What people do currently is they know what's been wasted, but they don't know the why. So we've improved the accuracy, and then it gives much more detailed information on the levels of wastage that's occurring in each site. Excellent.
And what's the most popular price point so far that you've seen, and what are how likely are customers to choose the enterprise level price point?
Yeah, currently it's the premium that people are going for, the majority. For some of our larger customers that have multiple sites, it is from the enterprise side. It really just depends on the customer and the functionality that they want, Fergal. So it's very much dependent. If they have multiple, let's say between 5 to 20, 40 sites, the premium should suffice. But for someone who wants integrations, automated pricing updates, things like that, then it would be more the essential. So it's really on a case-by-case basis.
Perfect, very good. And do you see this as a kind of a winner-takes-all market, or is there likely other players in this space?
From us, it's very much a land grab that we're looking to do first to market with a new product. That's why we put a short time frame of 2024 of being the point of acquisition, because the results that we're getting and the feedback that we're getting from customers really is fantastic, and it's encouraging to think that some very well managed sites, very well managed businesses are increasing their gross margin by using our software. It means it's just a matter of time before this will happen.
Excellent. We have questions here as well, just regarding the company valuation. So what is the company valuation based on the investment sought? So how have you justified obviously your valuation, Patrick, or just a little bit around that?
Yeah, we have the NDRC as a shareholder within our business. They're an accelerator program for new starts. In June of last year, they invested 75,000 for 8% of the company. That would give a valuation of 935,000. We've since then, in November, they invested an additional 30,000 for 2%, which values the company at 1.5 million. We're valuing the business now at 1.5 million, even though we've made substantial progress in the last 8 months.
Excellent, very good. And just I have a question probably myself. In terms of some of the larger players, you know, in the restaurant chain, your McDonald's, your KFC, Yum Brand, etc. What are they currently using at the moment across their sites? And is that something that you could maybe look at, you know, in the States, in Asia, to try and plug into some of those larger multinationals?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is to have something that's unique, not to go into a crowded space that's murky with competition. There are a lot of systems out there that manage product for those type of companies like McDonald's, who they buy in 100 burgers, they sell 100 burgers. They don't buy in 30 kilos of mince, X amount of bread, X amount of other ingredients, and then combine it. What we're targeting ourselves at is businesses that have an element of production, mainly around hospitality and the contract catering, where they actually produce something. Right? No offense to the McDonald's of the world, but they're buying in finished ingredients.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's always been something, question mark, and how much you need to order and what days, and so food waste is obviously, you know, to cut down on that is very important.
Correct.
Excellent. I think we have we time for any more questions, Chris?
Time for one more, Fergal, if there's one there. I see.
Yeah, just in terms of the investment in the technology, Patrick, what, you know, how much more do you really need to make in terms of, you know, physical investment, you know, money investment, time into the technology to really get this to the next stage?
The majority of the investment has been used on sales and marketing and on personnel in order to, both from the online marketing and then also for the people to start pushing it. So that's really what the investment is around. While there is additional capabilities from the IT and the development, it's predominantly based around the sales and marketing effort at the moment, because we have it created, developed, tested. It's tweaking and adding functionality at this stage, IT-wise. So it's very much, let's start selling.
Excellent, very good.
Excellent, Fergal, thank you very much for that. And Patrick, thank you very much for your answers and presentation. Excellent stuff. As I said before, we will be having another webinar with each of the companies as they go live and as they're starting their journey on the platform. So please feel free to join us again for those. And we will also have some town halls as well, where we actually have a discussion between the investors as to the pros and cons of a couple of the campaigns that are live on site, and we'll be announcing details of those in the next coming weeks. But the dates to look out for: we've got Moby going live on Wednesday the 7th. We have got HorsePay going live on Monday the 12th, and we have got DigiTally going live on Friday 16th. So they're the dates, although they might get a little bit moved, but no, they're the dates that we're aiming for anyway, to get each of those companies live. So we're looking forward to getting those onto the system. So I think that just concludes everything that we have today. So thank you very much for attending, guys. Really good to see so many investors on the webinar today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We did mention that we'll get the questions that haven't been answered by the guys, and we'll send each of those out to all of the people who have been on the webinar as well. So thank you very much. That brings us around to 2 o'clock, so just under the hour. So thank you very much for joining, and hopefully we'll see you online again very soon. Thanks very much. Goodbye.